We all have that one movie, the one that got under our skin, that made us sleep with the lights on or check in our closet before we went to bed. But the strange thing is, we chose to watch them. We may have even paid good money to be terrified. So today, I'm talking to real people on what films scared them the most. And together, we're digging into why we love being scared in the first place. Maybe it's just the adrenaline. Maybe it's because we can be scared in a safe environment. Maybe just some of us like flirting with the dark. Let's find out. I interviewed different people from different generations, and these interviews are going to be split up in each generation, what films scared them, and then at the end, we're going to have some actual videos. Because I have videos of some of the interviews, and the others I interviewed through phone. So we'll be going over those interviews. And we're going to begin with the oldest generation on my list, which is the boomer. And I talked to Debbie, who's 74 years old. And when she was younger, the films that frightened her was The Blob, The House of Usher, and The Mummy. And as an adult, she found The Tooth Fairy, Halloween, Friday the 13th, Jack the Ripper, The Omen, The Lost Boys, and Poltergeist, the original film, to be terrifying for her. In the comments, let me know what film or films do you think is going to cross generations that may have scared everybody in the interviews that I did. Let me know in the comments. And also, what films scared you or to this day terrify you now? Let me know in the comments and we'll go through those. I like to read them. Our next generation is Gen X, which is my generation. The first interviewee is Kevin. He was 54, and the films that scared him when he was younger were The Exorcist, Nightmare on Elm Street, The Legend of Hell House, Phantasm, Night of the Living Dead, the black and white version, Alien, The Howling, The Thing, Poltergeist, the original, and as an adult, The Fourth Kind. We have Bridget, who's a 53-year-old Gen X. And the only film that really got under her skin was Carrie. And what really scared her was that end scene when Carrie's hand came out of the grave. And that right there, I think, is what frightened quite a bit of people who watched Carrie. Our next Gen Xer is Sonia, 50 years old. And the only film that seemed to scare her was the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the original one. She doesn't watch much now that scares her. She's watched other films, but nothing really scares her at this time. We have Marvin the second, and he is 49 years old. And the films that pretty much frightened him was The Night of the Living Dead, the black and white version, again, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. We've had 3 of those. Friday the 13th Part 3. The Howling. We've had a couple of now saying Howling is one that bothered them. And Cujo. That's when he was younger. As an adult, he was terrified of The Wrong Turn and a Ouija from 2014. Tim, he was a 47-year-old Gen Xer. He didn't watch many horror films when he was a child, but his earliest scare was the evil queen transformation from Snow White. And Gremlins creeped him out. As an adult, he found Darkness Falls and Bone Tomahawk to put him on edge. And I've seen a couple of people talk about that Bone Tomahawk, and I think I'm gonna take a look at it. It sounds like it might be pretty good, but pretty disturbing as well. Romanette is our first and only Zennial, because she is on the cusp of Gen X and Millennial, so that makes her a Zennial. And the only films that she was afraid of was Gremlins and Child's Play. She says she's still scared of dolls, but she doesn't watch horror films. So those are pretty much the only things that scared her. She watched them when she was much younger. She doesn't like watching horror films as it is now. Our millennials begin with Nathaniel, who is 37 years old, and the only film that seemed to really get under his skin was The Exorcist. We also have Travis, who's a 36-year-old millennial, the original Poltergeist, and as an adult was Hereditary. He doesn't watch very many horror films now as an adult. So Hereditary was the last film that he watched, and it was very disturbing for him. Our next millennial is Tiana. She's 31 years old. Darkness Falls, Jeepers Creepers, Signs, 13 Ghosts, Final Destination, The Fourth Kind. Those all were films that terrified her growing up. As an adult, Hereditary and Sinister both disturbed her as an adult, and she avoids horror now as an adult. So she doesn't watch any horror now after those films. Our next millennial is Nadia, who's 31. Darkness Falls, The Exorcist, What Lies Beneath, 13 Ghosts, The Fourth Kind, Jeepers Creepers, and Darkness. And Darkness is a different film from Darkness Falls. I'm well aware it sounds like they're the same movie, but they're two different films. One is Darkness, and one is Darkness Falls. The next millennial here is JJ, who's 30 years old. And the films that scared him were Jaws, Anaconda, the Saw franchise, and Final Destination franchise. Now we move on to our Gen Z. We have Alexia, who's 28, and the two films that bothered her were the Saw franchise and Hostel. Next is Jamari, 28-year-old Gen Z, and the only film that he could really think about that really bothered him was the It miniseries when he was younger. He didn't really have anything that was bothered him as an adult, but the It miniseries was very frightening for him. Next, we have our only Gen Alpha, who is Neji. He's 10 years old. He loves horror, so nothing scares him, he says. But he was a little frightened of The Conjuring, and Final Destination Bloodlines kind of spooked him out. As I look through these before we get to the video interviews that I have, I noticed that we had The Exorcist, Gremlins, Darkness Falls, The Fourth Kind, and Friday the 13th was mentioned by several over the different generations, not just one generation, but over the course of the different generations.
My name is Darion, a.k.a. Strange, Strayj. And these are the movies that terrified me from childhood to some even still now. As far as I can remember, Hellraiser always terrified me because the demons in there, it just a lot was going on in there. Blade, for no specific reason other than a specific scene I remember as a kid seeing when he was running along the walls and it was like all the vampires were dancing in blood or something. And I just still remember that to this day. Ringu, as well as I guess would coincide with The Ring, both of them still sometimes affect me, but scarred me for a little bit. Whenever TV would have static, all I think about is this, or any attic in a house. Yeah. 13 Ghosts, of course, even still now gets to me, but it's a good movie. Darkness Falls terrified me for sure. I was scared of the dark and the Tooth Fairy for a little bit. Dawn of the Dead, or really any zombie movie, still I have an irrational fear. I have a nightmare every time I watch a zombie movie. I have to put on cartoons afterwards. Dark Water, I think, as well as another movie around the same time, and I can't remember what it was called. I want to say it was Pulse or something like that. It was like the white creatures and someone was coming out of the dryer or a washing machine or something like that. It's crazy. And there's a couple more movies that I know still affecting me that are newer. I just can't remember what they're called right now. Oculus. We had The Mirrors. Oh God. And I think Mirrors. What was it? It was Mirrors, I think so, where they had the reflections making the people kill themselves. Was terrifying. Couldn't look in the mirror for a while at my own reflection. But yeah, that's pretty much all I can. And The Fourth Kind, which scarred me for the rest of my life. And Jeepers Creepers. How did I forget about that movie? There was a lot of good movies.
What would you say scares you now?
It Follows for sure. It Follows, and Sinister. That's really all I can think of right now. But yeah, still would watch them again. Maybe. But definitely good watches. Definitely good writing. Good horror icons in those movies. Even just terrifying. But yeah, that's my take. That's my my PTSD.
Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Yes, we have Nick here today, and he's 29 years old, and he's going to tell us what film scared him as a child or when he was growing up, and what gives him it's a little disturbing or fearful for him now as an adult. Here we go.
Hi, so first one I want to talk about is The Exorcist. And there's a reason why they keep trying to remake this movie, and it always sucks because you can't top this. This was top tier horror that my mom wouldn't let me watch. Even if she let me watch it, I wouldn't have watched it anyway, because that's how creepy it was. Hellraiser, mainly for the gore, because I was always into, Alien, Predator movies, Godzilla, Nightmare on Elm Street. But this is one of the ones that would really get me and never finished. But obviously, as an adult, watched all of them. amazing. And then we don't have the American version because that one's in. This one though, of The Ring, is seeing the girl come out of the TV. Creepy. And these were mainly the top three. I think honorable mention will probably be like Poltergeist, but the first thing that I thought of was these three. And nowadays, I'm a horror junkie. Nothing really like scares me now. But, you know, stuff that's based off true events, you know, that could actually happen, don't involve ghosts or anything. It could just involve, you know, crazy people in the world. So, like, Megan is Missing is one of them. And, you know, that involves, like, kidnapping and sex trafficking. So, like, but how it was made very creepy, very disturbing. So, I don't recommend that movie to nobody. And, yeah.
Well, thank you. Welcome. We have Isaiah here. He's 28 years old, and he's going to be telling us what scared him as a child and what film is disturbing or maybe even fearful for him.
Boogeyman 2005 was a horrifying film for me. I think it was the first scary film I saw in theaters. I saw it with my dad. Mom was pissed. But that film shook me to my core. I feel like it's human to have a fear of what hides in the dark. And this film did a great job of, you know, showing that and like giving form to it. And it was probably one of the like just scariest things I've seen yet. I mean, you know, probably now it probably looks kind of rough, but like then it was harsh. And so yeah. And then as far as now, I have a few things. I have a I guess love and fear of space, right? And like what is in space. And there's so much that, you know, we don't know. And I feel like a good film that like gave form to that is Dark Skies, which is this. And it's a great film. It really it like kind of paints itself as a ghost film, but it's actually aliens, and there's this family who is being targeted, and you know it's like random. And I think that's the thing that like that the thing that like, you know, kind of gets me is that, you know, these beings came here to get you. That's it. Like, you know, they are so far past us. And I feel like that's a just huge, I guess, fear of mine, is just being wanted by, you know, a thing that you can't run from. That's probably one of the most real fears in life. And a second thing for me was a film from 2020 called Host, which is it's like this like Zoom call thing, kind of like Unfriended. But oh my, the way they do it, it's like this like seance, and there's these like demons, and the way I me being a Christian man, right? I do think that there are like demons and things, and the fact that for me that makes it even more real and scary. Just you know, the thought of these beings of pure just terror being, you know, among us. And yeah, no, that film was like this like Zoom call, and you saw this like group of friends who would just basically die to these like demons. and that one was like rough. I've always had a fear, I guess, of course, of things that I I can't see, I can't touch, right? Like Jason and all that. That's like cool. That's like scary. But I excuse me, I can just run. But as far as things that I like can't see, but things that are there, I think that's what's more just disturbing for me. So yeah.
We're now interviewing Dijon. He is 22, and he's going to tell us what film or films scared him when he was younger, and what is pretty fearful or disturbing to him now as an adult.
When I was younger, I would say Halloween and probably Jeepers Creepers. Found Halloween so scary because I was about 6, 5 when it came out. But I will always put myself through the trauma of watching horror movies because I did enjoy them, but it just scared me. Like I put myself through watching the first Jeepers Creepers back when YouTube had them in parts. It'd be part 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Sat there in front of the computer screen, watched all of them, every single part. I was terrified. But that's what I would say I was terrified of when I was younger. But now, I want to say a few months ago, I watched When Evil Lurks. It's a movie about like demon-possessed things that was going on, and it was in Spanish. You had to read the captions the whole movie. But boy, was that movie a movie like I've never watched. Like it was just disturbing. Like it was more disturbing than actually like terrifying. Like it was terrifying, yeah, but it was just certain parts that you just kind of just are like, oh my gosh, when it happens, and the suspense in certain parts out of this world. But that's what I would say still terrifies me to this day. As being an adult now, but When Evil Lurks, not many movies can get me there. Now that I'm used to horror movies, because I love horror movies, but that one, I definitely recommend When Evil Lurks.
I'm about to check that one out. Thank you.
Yeah.
Now, thinking about why we love being scared. In my field of study, I'm a behavioral scientist, and fear is a stimulus that we all have. We all have fear of, our fears are different. One person may be afraid of water, someone else may be afraid of going over bridges or afraid of heights. So we have these different fears that are ingrained in us. And sometimes we don't know why we're afraid of certain things. And there's a possibility that that's something happened at one of our ancestors, and maybe another ancestor watched it, the person that survived, seen somebody fall off a bridge or drown in the water, and then that put in a fear response. And that fear response is just there, and it travels throughout the different generations. And we have to have, if we didn't have fear, we wouldn't survive. Fear helps us to survive things. It makes us not go jump off a cliff because we have that fear that we know that if we jump off the cliff, we're not going to survive. And it functions as a stimulus in the brain, in your amygdala, that gives you these, like this, the fight or flight emotion and the feeling, and it brings that adrenaline up. So when you watch a horror film, or even you watch a horror film, or even if you watch like even an action film or a thriller, and something actually you're watching that and you're getting that same rush of emotions. You're getting that same fight or flight feeling going on in your brain. Your brain is seeing it. You're watching it, and your brain is seeing it as something that's actually happening. But you're sitting in your home or inside a theater or at a drive-in, so you know that those things you're seeing on the screen, it's not going to hurt you because you're in your own. You're here safe. So we can experience that fear and those feelings, but know that we're safe and that something is not going to harm us. But once you're done watching those films and you lay down and you close your eyes to go to bed, your subconscious kicks in, and that's where your nightmares come from. Or when you come home and you're no longer at the theater, but you're in this dark hallway or this dark room, and it's similar to what you just watched on the screen. Your brain has taken that in as a memory, as something that you actually experienced, even though you did not experience it. And that's why you get the chills and your hair sticking up on the back of your neck or your arms when you go in your dark hallway after you just watched a horror film. Those things, but you still want to come back to, but why do we like that feeling? Why do we like having those nightmares after you watch this movie? Why do we put ourselves through that, I guess, that torture? Why do we do it? Well, we do it because it makes you feel alive. It lets you know that you're alive and that nothing is going to hurt you, that you're going to survive. You're here, you survived, and you're going to survive. And I think that's why we like being scared, why we enjoy being scared, and why we pay to be scared. Let me know in your comments, what do you think about that? Why do you think we like being scared? Let me know in the comments. And after watching this, make sure if you haven't seen the other parts of this series, you could look at the playlist here that has the first 3 videos in this series. And look forward to my next few videos where I'll be doing a behavioral analysis on different iconic characters from film and TV under my Psychology of Spotlight, which is based off 2 of my 2 books in my series, Psychology of. And the first 2 are Psychology of Horror, Villains, Survivors, and Victims. So check that out on here in the next coming weeks, and that'll be available to everyone. Thank you, and I look forward to seeing you in the next episode.